Welcome back to another episode of Throwbacks, Throwdowns, the weekly segment where the Technodrome decides what is best, what is worst, who is right, and who is wrong. This week's topic, we're going to throw in a little sports flavor. It is now the Fall Classic going on in baseball, so we're going to debate and decide the 1986 New York Mets versus the 1996 New York Yankees. Who is better? Who would win? Let's hear it. Matt, who would you be rooting for first off in this series?
I'd be rooting for the 96 Yankees because I grew up a big Yankees fan. I did like the Mets too, and I liked a lot of players who were on that Mets team, even though I didn't know them in 86 because I was a year old when they won. But, grew up, Darryl Strawberry was my favorite player. And then luckily he came back to New York and I got to see him on the Yankees, got to see him live a bunch of times. It was great. Nice. But I would have to say I'm going for the 96 Yankees.
Duff?
Diehard New York Mets fan here. Started watching them probably back in the early 90s, 93, 94, when they were pretty consistently 100 losses or so. I was only a year old when they won in 86, so I don't know if that really counts. So I've never really seen them win. Would be nice one day. But yeah, I'd definitely be pulling for the 86 Mets. Some classic players there with Strawberry, Doc Gooden. You had some other guys like, Lenny Dykstra, Nails, Gary Carter, the kid. And, even Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez, who you can't tell apart when they're talking. They're just, it was a classic team that just, had 108 wins that year. It was just one of those seasons where everything kind of just went together and they just never gave up. And, even that iconic 86 World Series where they were, basically down to their last strike and down a couple runs, and they actually came back to win that game and then go on to win Game 7. So, just a huge New York Mets fan. So I'd definitely be pulling for them and rooting for them. Even see that voice crack, just get so excited and emotional when I talk about my Mets,
Well,
Puberty.
You got to see the Mets lose as many games as the 86 Mets won, so that's a thing.
Counts for something.
Got a wise guy over here.
Scales,
How about you, Scales? I think I know what direction you're leaning. Kind of
so
obvious.
for all those that don't know, diehard Yankee fan, born and bred. My grandfather was a huge Yankee fan, and my father, and obviously passed it on to my brother and I. Started becoming a big fan maybe around 95. Started really getting into baseball around that time. And this 96 team really just was full of grit. They were captivating. The Yankees would obviously go on to form a dynasty, and this was the beginning of it, right? And they had those core guys in there, Jeter and Pettit,
the core four.
Bernie, Paul O'Neill, like Tino. These guys were just so huge for that team for over the next 7-8 years or so. So obviously I'm rooting for the Yankees in this epic matchup. I want to throw it around a little round table, maybe dive in a little deeper, stats, who you think would do well, who would underperform, who would choke. Cass, I'll throw it to you first.
Well, one of the main guys from the Yankees you left out was Paul O'Neill. Paul O'Neill was one of the grittiest and best performing clutch players that they had.
Angry Irishman.
Yeah.
Warrior.
Bernie Williams, I think, would have had a tremendous series too. Darryl versus Darryl and Dwight versus Dwight is very interesting. I think that Darryl on the Yankees, especially in the playoffs, was a beast. Yeah. I mean, the key hits, key doubles, just like when you needed it, he hit a moonshot. It was amazing. And you mentioned Tino. Tino stepped into big shoes. He had big shoes to fill. Don Mattingly was my favorite player growing up alongside Darryl Strawberry, and then he was gone. And, of course, they won the year after he leaves. But yeah, they were a team that had the determination. They had no business beating the Atlanta Braves pitching staff of Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavine. So could they take on the 86 Mets pitching staff, which was arguably just as strong? It's tough to say. Duff, what do you think?
Again, give credit where credit's due. The 96 Yankees were an amazing team. They had just an insane roster, insane lineup. Pitching staff was great. And, the beginnings of, Mariano's insane run where, he basically just throws a fastball and no one can touch him. It's impressive. I don't know how he does it, or how he did it, I should say. And you got that you got the grittiness, some of the grittiness that the '86 Mets would have had with a guy that I don't know if either of you've mentioned yet with Jimmy Liritz, with his clutch home run against the Braves there. But
Yep.
going back to the '86 Mets, I think they're just as gritty, and they were getting to brawls all the time, and they wouldn't take crap from anybody, and they just wouldn't give up. And I think at the end of the day, I think yeah, I don't know. I just going back to even going back into a little bit of our gaming talks before, RBI baseball, one of the greatest games in my opinion created. They had the '86 Mets on there, and just kind of playing with that team all the time growing up. It's just kind of stuck with me. So.
All right. All right.
I was going to mention how with the Mets pitching, like you said, Cast, and then the Yankees hitting were so evenly matched. The Yankees lineup had 7 guys with a batting average of 292 or higher, which is remarkable.
Steroids.
No, there was no steroids yet. That didn't come till.
Yeah, I mean the Mets were they were doing blow in the bathroom, and just that ruined their careers. So
a lot of amphetamines.
Yeah, a lot of drugs in general. But just, I mean, great. It's a great lineup from start to finish for the Yankees, and they had 4 Hall of Famers on this roster. We even talked about Tim Raines, who was coming off the bench. He's a Hall of Famer. Wade Boggs, obviously lifelong Red Sox, and we took him aboard. He helped us win a title.
I think he was more famous as a Devil Ray.
That is a great Devil Ray too. You're right. He helped bring in that franchise in the early years. But just, it would just be a great matchup. I think it would go 7 games. We're running low on time here, so I'm going to try to give you my pick, and then I'll throw it back to you guys. I think the Yankees take it in 7. I think the Yankees bullpen and the clutch hitting pays off in the end, and somehow they find a way to get by the tremendous pitching staff of the New York Mets. Duff, who do you got?
I gotta go my '86 New York Metropolitans, my Metsies. I think it would be a 7-game series, hard fought, back and forth. I don't think anybody wins 2 games in a row, kind of a thing. And I think it comes down to just some clutch hitting, and their pitching survives just enough to get by with that insane lineup. But I think it comes down to maybe either a clutch hit by Mr. Mookie. Maybe another ground ball under a first baseman or something, or maybe Mr. Mustache comes through. Keith Hernandez, gets a big double or something. But I think it comes through in 7 games, and the Mets pull it out.
All right, Cast, you're the deciding factor here. Who do you got?
I say it goes 6 or 7 games, probably 7 games, and it's very hard to tell. But I say the '86 Mets pull it out, and I say how it happens is Darryl lights up John Wetland for the win or the go-ahead, because Wetland had a great season, but every time he came in, it's like, oh, this on the edge of your seat, because it wasn't like Mariano in future years where it's like, game's over, unless something crazy happens. Wetland made you sweat for every win, and I think that he just lets a fastball go a little high, and Darryl puts it. If they're playing in Shea, he'd hit it to Yankee Stadium. So 86 Mets, and ultimately the winner is New York and the fans, because it would probably be the best series you'd ever see. I think the Mets were just a little tougher, because they were dirty '80s New York tough, as opposed to cleaning up '90s New York tough.
Fair enough. I'll take the defeat there, but it's all for New York. We all love New York sports. So, like you said, the fans win. The timer went out, but we went a little bit over. That's okay, because we love this topic. We love our sports. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our discussion on our version of the Ultimate Fall Classic, '86 Mets versus '96 Yankees. Be sure to follow us on social media at Throwbacks Technodrome Pod on TikTok and Instagram. And be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment. Let us know who's your pick, who you got, who's MVP of this series, and then any other topics you want to hear us talk about. Until next time, you won't see Wade Boggs riding around near Yankee Stadium on a horseback, because the Mets are winners, unfortunately.
And Doc Gooden will be missing the parade because he's still Bye.
Bye.
See ya.